Today on the 1965 Pontiac, we are installing the Edlebrock intake. A couple things to note on Pontiacs when you do intakes. Make sure you test fit your gaskets. This relief right here on the pan is very important. A lot of times what will happen is if you're putting this engine together and you put this pan on and it sits a little bit left or right here, doesn't take a lot, it'll knock your gasket up just enough to where it doesn't line up on this side or the other side if it's the other way. So during the fitment phase of the pan, make sure that your intake gaskets are going to work out okay. You can see that they relieve it here at the factory. And what I had to do here is this was already had an intake on it. What I do is you take a blade and carefully trim this gasket flush to the relief that the Pontiac people put. So this will seal real good. So here we are with the intake torqued, installed with the carburetor, not yet plumbed or wired. The shifting cable is pretty good. I got to get a little bit of slack out of that, and that's okay. We'll put the springs on last. We're going to double up the springs and make sure they work exactly the way they're supposed to. Very important. Here, the fuel line, I need to make this up a little better. It has a fuel pressure regulator, so we're going to make a nice, neat run here. The wiring for the electric choke, same thing, nice, neat run. The gooseneck, it didn't come with one. So what we're going to do with that is I have it over here, and I'm doing several coats of Eastwood's Alumablast, which will make it look exactly like the intake manifold, and that'll be just fine. So the next time we get in here, we're going to finish plumbing, wiring, make sure everything is the way it's supposed to be, do a pressure test on it, check the fuel system, get it outside, and hopefully fire it up. Stay tuned. One other thing worth mentioning here, when you seal up one of these intakes, obviously you're going to follow the pattern according to the manufacturer for torquing it down. I do 3 steps on these. I do 15, 20, and 25. Then I come back and I do 25 again. And then the next day I do 27. I go around 2 pounds more just to make sure it's good. I use sealer in the corners where the water jacket goes in, and sealer where there's an O gasket that goes in between the water pump and the intake. And I like to use the Permatex Ultra Black. The other thing I'm going to mention here is do not put fluids in this for 24 hours. Do not. When I worked for some money-hungry bosses back in the day, they wanted things out the door, and I would put an engine together, and usually an oil pan intake leak, something like that had to be repaired. They wanted it out, and after a while, I found out that doing things quick and not letting things set up and cure like they're supposed to just caused the car to come back with leaks, and it might not be right away; it'd be a little bit later, and not torquing in the right sequence and taking the time to make sure that that's done correctly will also cause you headaches. So don't put fluids in it for 24 hours. Don't pressure test it for 24 hours. Just let it sit. Retorque it again after 24 hours. And then you go on from there. And you won't have any leaks if you did everything right. Stay tuned.